Hello friends, so myself Mrs. Harita from Department of BES 1. So today we are going to have a look at the session file based input output for users. So before going to the session, so this is the aim of the session. The students will be able to learn the file related input and output functions, and it will provide them with practical examples and exercises to help them understand the way to read the content from files and write contents to the file. So these are the instructional objectives. The student will be able to understand the file related IO functions, how to open and close files in C. They will be able to read the content from the file and write contents to the file. And these are the learning outcomes. So understanding the concept of files, input and output in C, to be able to identify and correct errors in code that reads and writes data to files, and write some C programs that uses reading and writing file related functions. So let's start. So as a part of introduction, this session will discuss about why files are needed, file management in C, different modes in files. So why files are needed? Say for example, so far we have done basic programs in C, and we have compiled and executed the program, and the program gives us some valid outputs. So have you ever wondered, so you have executed the program for say a number of times, 2 times, 3 times, and you have got the valid output, but what happens when we shut down the system or we close the application, come out of that program? So what happens to the data in specific? We have not specified the system to store the data anywhere. So when we come out of the application, the data is no longer available with us that we see on the terminal. It is no longer available because we have not instructed the system to store it somewhere. So files is giving a facility to store the data permanently on the disk. So once we store the data, it is easier to access and retrieve the data at a later point of time. So this is the reason we are going to use files in C language, which helps us to store, not only store the data, but also to access and retrieve the data. So now we will see with file management in C. So this file management is possible through the help of file management functions. There are certain functions, as you already know that functions is basically it's a group of it's a block of code that is performing a specific task. So with the help of these built-in specific functions, I will be achieving this file management in C. So these are the basic functions. There are of course a few more functions, but I am going to list and discuss the 4 main important functions in C. So on the left side I have given the function name, and on the right side I have given the purpose. So as the table goes, the first one is fopen, which is to create a new file or open an existing file. So the name of the function is fopen. The next function is fclose, to close a file that was opened for some purpose. Actually, the closing a file though is not mandatory, but it is a good programming practice to close a file when it was opened earlier. Then we have fscanf, that is to read the contents from a file, and fprintf, to write a new content to the file. So to list the functions quickly: fopen, fclose, fscanf and fprintf. We will be looking into these functions in detail in our further slides. So an overview of this. So let us look at the function fopen. So here the first line says file star fp. So what is that? It is something like a file pointer. So file is a keyword which is giving you a file pointer. I am going to create a file pointer. So using that file pointer, so I am going to use the function fopen, which is taking 2 parameters, as you can see. The first parameter is the name of the file, and the next parameter is the mode. So the file name is a name to uniquely identify a file, and as an example I have given fp is equal to fopen sample.txt, which says the name of the file is sample and .txt is the extension. Anything that comes after the dot is the extension. So here txt stands for text file. So I say that sample is a text file which is opened in W mode. So now the W stands for, W indicates write mode. So there are a few more modes which are available for opening a file, which we will be discussing in the next slide. So there are actually 6 modes, but out of which we are going to discuss in detail about the first 3. So as I said, W is standing for writing, R is opening a file for reading purpose, W is opening a file for writing. If the file does not exist, a new file is created, and if the file is already existing, the contents are overwritten. So please be little careful when you are using this W mode. Ensure that you are not overwriting somebody else's file. A stands for opening a file in the append mode. Append mode in the sense the file is already existing and there are some contents also in the file. I am going to add some more contents to the file. So the contents of the file do not change, but additional data can be added on to the file. The other modes are R+, W+, and A+. As it can be seen on the slide, R+ stands for opening a file for reading and writing from the beginning. W+ is for opening a file for reading and writing, overwriting a file. I already mentioned that overwriting is redefining the contents of the file, so the older contents of the file might be lost. A+, open a file for reading and writing. Appending a file, as I said, appending is the contents of the file do not get changed, but whatever we write will be added from the last. So these are the major modes in which we can operate the file while using the function fopen. Now, writing the contents to the file. Yes, before I go with this, I would like you to see this. So open the file. So these are the sequential steps that needs to be followed. So now it is something like after you have opened a file, you need to write the contents into the file. So open the file in the write mode. So we are using an fopen function. The next thing is prompt the user to enter the input through keyboard. So here we can use our scanf function, which will ask you to enter certain details and you will be entering the details through the terminal. Write down the contents to the file, use the printf function, and finally close the file using fclose function. So before I go with the syntax of fprintf function, so here the main theme is to explain fprintf because this is the function which will write down the contents from the keyboard to the file. So it will copy all the contents, it will write down the contents to the file. So you can just imagine that you are in your CTSD class and your faculty is taking a session, a lecture. So it is not possible for you to remember the entire content that your teacher is telling you. So immediately what you do is you open the notebook. So when you open the notebook, you take a fresh page, not an overwritten page. You take a fresh page and start writing whatever your teacher is telling. So you are receiving the input from the teacher and writing everything to the paper in the notebook. And finally, when the hour is over and the teacher leaves or the session is over, you close the notebook. The same thing is happening here also. So first thing is use the fopen function. So using the scanf, receive all the input through the keyboard and write down whatever is being received through scanf, write the entire contents to the newly created file using fprintf, and finally close the file. So here is the syntax for fprintf function. So the first parameter, as you can see, is the file pointer that we have already created, file star fp in the statement file star fp. And then finally the second one is the format specifiers and followed by the list of the variables. So here using fprintf, so here you can see an example. I am going to store the roll number, name and grade of a student. So now I have written the contents to the file. So the next thing is I have to read the contents from the file. So now again the same thing happens. So open the file now in which mode? Read mode, using the same function fopen. Second thing is read the contents of the file using fscanf, because now the operation is not writing but the operation is reading. So after I have opened the file in read mode, I need to read the contents, for which I will be using the function fscanf. And after reading the contents, just as a matter of proof, I am displaying the contents on the terminal. So I am using a normal printf statements. But remember here, the reading is not done from the keyboard, the reading is done from the file. That is why I am using fscanf and not the ordinary scanf. This point needed to be noted. So finally, after I display this, as I said, it is a good programming practice to close the file. So whatever file I have opened in read mode, I will be closing it using my fclose function. So this is the syntax for fscanf function. So this is the file pointer, format specifiers, and since it is a reading operation, I am reading the roll number, name and grade of a student from the file, and I am going to print it. So as a sample, so this is the program. So this is the first line, and as you can see, so creating a file pointer. So this is the first step. I am going to create a file pointer, and then roll number, name and grade. So you can just have a quick view of the data types. So integer, character, a grade and a character array. So enter the roll number. So now I am prompting the user to enter the roll number, name and grade of the student. So the same thing, inputting the data using scanf. So this is the normal procedure we have usually done. Enter the roll number, name and grade. And now, so you can see that file star fp. So using the same file pointer, I have opened the file. The name of the file is sample.txt. It is a text file, and I am going to open it in write mode. So open the file in the write mode. So just have a look at the function. The function is fopen. Now the file is open for you. So now it is necessary to write the contents to the file. So when I want to write the content to the file, I will be using fprintf. You already know the syntax. So fprintf. So the first parameter is the file pointer that was created, and then I am sending the data, namely the roll number, name and grade to the file. So once I use the function fprintf, the contents are written to the file sample.txt. And now after writing, as I said, it is a good practice to close the file. So I am just closing the file. So just look at the syntax, fclose of file pointer. Now the writing process is completed. So now my process is to read the contents from the file. This is just for the proof that a file is already created. So fp is equal to fopen sample.txt. Now just look at the mode, concentrate on the mode. It is not in the write mode, but it is in the read mode. So now it is in the R mode. So reading from the file. So the next thing is I have to read from the file. So it is fscanf, and the first parameter is file pointer, and I am going to read namely the roll number, name and the grade of the student which I had written. Now just as a matter of proof, I am printing whatever I have read from the file sample.txt. I am printing the data to the screen. So it is just like printing the contents of the file on the screen. So once I have printed that, again it's a good practice to close the file. So now whatever file I have opened in the read mode, I have closed the file. So and finally the program gets over, and this, when it was executed, the program had prompted me to enter the name, roll number and the grade. So I have entered the data as 101, Harita and A grade. You can see it is being printed on the screen. So this is the sample output for the previous program. Finally, this is another program just for a sample. You can just go through this particular program which is going to store the name, age and the salary of an employee. So it is going to open a file in write mode first. The name of the file is emp.txt, and here it says if fptr is equal to null. which means if I give a wrong name. So this is something like if I give a wrong name or it is not able to identify the right file, it will, this is just for a checking purpose, which says the file does not exist. If the file is existing, or if you are giving a correct file name, or you want to create a new file giving a right name, then it is prompting you to enter the name, age and the salary. And finally I have just printed it in the file, and finally I have closed a file. So this is another example. You can take this as another example for how to open the file, write the contents and close the file. So this is a small practice question which I want everybody to try with. Create a file that stores the following information about your favorite book. So maybe some book number, ISBN number, name, author name and price. Just try to store these contents by creating a new file and storing these contents into the file. So these are some reference books and websites, though there are many, but as per the experts' opinion, these are few books which we thought will be helpful for the student community. So these are just for a reference, and thank you.